Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We are going to begin in about 1 minute, which seems that we are still waiting for a few more people to log on. So please be patient. We will begin shortly. Okay, everyone, hello and welcome to our webinar today. It's called VPK Improvement Plans, Exploring the Target Areas. Like I said before, we're very glad that you could be here with us today. And before we get started, we'd like to introduce ourselves as your trainers. My name is Stephanie Templin, and I've been with the ELC Coalition for about 2 years as a quality and education coaching specialist. And I really love my work here at the Coalition, whether it's in person or in this new virtual role I found myself in. A little bit about my past experience. I have been a teacher for various classrooms, such as the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and 4-year-olds. For 10 years. I had the opportunity to manage different centers and programs throughout my career. And I have been working here in Broward with the Broward providers for about 5 years. And just as a little personal trivia fact about myself is that I love Diet Coke more than anyone that you know. That's a fact.
That is true. Hello, everyone. It's Brad Arroyo, and I am also a quality and education coaching specialist at the ELC of Broward. I have been in the early childhood field for about 10 years now. I have worked in the educational research section. I was a VPK and a toddler teacher for some time. I also got the opportunity to be an education coordinator of a large Head Start center. That was a great boot camp for me there. And I've worn many hats throughout my career. I enjoy spending time with my family and my friends. I can't wait to be able to do that more often, and servicing the community through my church. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Gretel. All right, so now that we've introduced ourselves, we would like to hear from you, our participants. We'd like to check in with you and see where you are feeling in the improvement plan portion of the implementation portion of your improvement plan. So after your improvement plan was approved, how do you feel about your current progress or preparation? So you can see you could be in the red zone here, the yellow zone, or a green zone. I'm going to launch a poll. And it's launching now. You should see it in a moment. All right, and you can pick how you're feeling right now. If you're feeling positive, you got a little extra work done over the summer and you feel ready to go, you have your calendar and a binder ready to go. You can feel neutral, not really sure where to start yet, and really looking for that next step. Or honestly, you can feel negative because it's not easy becoming a provider on probation, and it's still, you know, take some time to come to that understanding and really take in those next steps too. Okay, so we have about 65% voted. So we're gonna hold the poll open for just a couple more minutes. Oh, the results are looking very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna close this poll, and I'd love to share the results with you. Gretel, what do you think?
I'm loving what I'm seeing. So I see that a great majority of you are feeling positive, which is excellent. That's exactly where we want you to be. And we hope that those that may not feel as good or are even in that neutral section about your progress, we hope that we can answer your questions today. We can enlighten you in whatever it is that you still need to get you from that negative or that neutral into that positive. So looking forward to helping you do all that.
And we're going to hide the poll. And I also want to mention that we have a lot of people in the questions box also putting in positive. So that 64% is even more than we actually have. So that is excellent. So let's continue on. There we go. So now we're going to talk about attendance credits, pre-post tests, and evaluations. If you have not joined us before, we just want to review these quick tidbits of information. Remember that all of our ELC Broward trainings and webinars are for in-service hours only, and your training certificate will be emailed to you within 24 hours of this training ending to the email address that you actually entered at registration. So in order to be a marker attended, you must log on to the computer and download GoToWebinar app on your phone. So really just calling in does not register your attendance, and you will not receive a certificate or be marked as attended. So, you know, our rule of thumb is if you can't see us on the screen, then we can't see you. Now, a little additional information that we have is that all of our trainings now have a pre-test of 3 questions for you to answer when you registered. Now, upon completion of this training today, you'll receive post-test questions of 3 post-test questions and a training evaluation of 5 questions that we're going to ask you to please fill out at the end of the webinar so you can get your certificate and we can get your feedback on how our webinar was for today. So thank you for your time on that. So next, we're going to take a little bit of time to look at housekeeping. If you haven't joined us from our webinars, we want to make sure that you're familiar with the platform. So we have some information here to share with you. So first, you want to look for this orange rectangle with a white arrow. This will control your GoToWebinar panel that you can see on the right-hand screen. It will minimize and maximize it for you. And then you also have a questions pane right down here. Click on that white arrow. It will open up a little window where you can ask questions or participate in any types of discussions that we will have today. And also, we provided you with a lot of great handouts today that you want to take advantage of. All you have to do is click that white arrow once again. That window opens up. Click on the links and make sure they download them to your computer and you get them saved to your computer so you can refer to them later. All right, so now it's okay to be skeptical right now, but I'm so excited to see that we're all in a really positive or even a neutral place to be. But let's talk about really keeping our minds focused on that positivity. So we want to keep in mind what is the purpose of our plan. As we know as educators, it's really a guide to improve practice to support the children. And of course, that's what we're here for, is what's always best for children. So we're going to ask you to look at this process during the presentation from a growth mindset. So here's a quote on the screen here that I feel exemplifies having a growth mindset, because at the first time I've heard this at a training, I wasn't too familiar. It says, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible," which is by Audrey Hepburn. So let's get a little deeper into growth mindset. So you can define growth mindset as a people's ability to believe in themselves and find ways to achieve their goal. So which is opposite to an unchanging fixed mindset. You can see how in the image in front of us, that fixed mindset is unchanging, inflexible. Those bricks aren't moving anywhere with that cement. And in contrast, we see the plant going through a series of small changes to achieve its goal and blossom. And this is the way we want you, this is the thinking we want you to apply as you look at your improvement plan. But really, this is a great way to implement this way of thinking in your personal life as well as your professional life. Now we're going to take a look at what a growth mindset might sound like. So this is 10 growth mindset statements. What can I say to myself? So I'm going to give you a moment to read through the statements 1 through 10. You can see on the left, it's a fixed mindset statement. And on the right, they have revised it to a growth mindset statement. So I'll give you time to read them, and then you can put in the questions box which growth mindset statement feels maybe inspiring or something that you can really connect with. So I'll give you some time to read there. And if you just want to add the number of the statement, that will be easier than typing the whole thing in. So I do know that for me personally, I've said it's too hard more times than I probably should. And I really like how in this growth mindset set of way of thinking, it really changes my view of understanding that something that is hard just needs more time and more effort. So I really like having this image that helps me stay focused on what I can do rather than what I can't do at times that I've had that fixed mindset and I kind of really need to regroup. Gretel, is there one that you resonate with?
Yes, I'm actually looking at number 3. I've had situations where maybe I get very frustrated because it's something that I just don't get. So I'm inclined to say I'm going to give up. I'm just not going to do this. I'm not going to try. And I like the trying the different thinking. So I'll use some of the strategies I've learned, or I'll tap in resources or ask others, can you help me with this, that may have more knowledge in a certain area that I'm getting frustrated in. So I really appreciate number 3.
Absolutely. And then we have some participants who also chose number 4 along with me, that this is too hard and that really this maybe take some time and effort, is maybe a more positive, more growth mindset way of looking at things. So thank you for everyone who participated in our conversation. We're going to continue on. So a director's perspective. Now, as we open ourselves to having this growth mindset, we felt it was really important for you to hear from someone who has actually been in your shoes. We want to share with you that we really do understand the hard work and commitment that these improvement plans will take and how much commitment change actually takes. So one of our fabulous managers has been through the improvement process and the good cause exemptions as a director before and has come to share her experience with us. So I'd like to introduce our wonderful manager, Amy Hemway, one of the Quality Education Department managers. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Gretel. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank Gretel and Stephanie for inviting me to share a little bit about my experience when I was a former director. And I definitely can relate to the situation that you are currently in. Back when I became a brand new director, my first year on the job, I received an email and a letter saying that we were a low VPK provider for the 3rd year. And I had no idea that we were even on an improvement plan already. So that's how, that's how hard it was to wrap my head around this news. And so I just want to say that I understand that initial reaction, and that however it is that you discover that you are in this status of low provider. And I really it really resonates with me, the growth mindset that Gretel and Stephanie just walked us through, because it really does help to put things into perspective and kind of move past that feeling of, how could this have happened? How did I not know this? And, kind of beat yourself up. Instead, it's best to kind of pull yourself up and think, okay, well, this is the situation I'm in, so what am I going to do about it? Which leads me to what would happen next, which is I had to work with my team to brainstorm, how are we going to create an improvement plan that's actually intentional? Because obviously we were on one that wasn't working because we didn't even know about it. And so we wanted to make sure that we were creating something that was relevant to the work that we were doing, to the situation that we were faced with at that time, and what was best for the staff and the children. So that took some reflection and consideration of all different solutions that we could come up with. The next step that we had to take was staff buy-in. Whether you have one staff that works with VPK or multiple VPK classrooms, or a VPK classroom with more than one staff, maybe a lead teacher and an assistant teacher, it's crucial for everybody to be on board. And even beyond that, I would recommend that even your 3-year-old teacher, should be aware of this situation, to kind of start working with those 3-year-olds that are going to feed into that VPK classroom, using whatever strategies you're going to use with your VPK staff. In my case, not only was I not aware that we were on an improvement plan, I have to admit, sadly, the staff was not aware either. So whoever was there before me had created a plan that no one knew about. They didn't even know that we were a low VPK provider, and that our next step was actually beyond the improvement plan. We also had to apply for a good cause exemption. So it was all hands on deck at that point. Everybody was in it to win it. And so now we go into the implementation phase, and your plan needs to be like a living document that you're working on. And I know the ladies are going to cover this more in detail, but it's that you have to continue that reflective practice of thinking about what are the challenges to implementing this plan, and then also what is working, what is successful, and just be okay with the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it all happens throughout the whole process. And there are going to be days that are better than others in this implementation of your improvement plan. But I do want to say that it is possible to get out of this status. A lot of you are, I know you're working so hard, and it's sometimes just a matter of tweaking just a few things that might not be working. But again, if you are reflective, if you're intentional with your plan, if you get your staff on board, and everybody works towards the same goal, you can do it. It took us a while at the center where I was a director. We actually ended up submitting 3 good cause exemptions. One, every year that I was there, we were on good cause exemptions. We always got it. And in our last year of submitting it, we actually got off of being a low provider. So hard work does pay off, and reflecting and having that growth mindset is very important in this process. So I'm here with you. I feel, everything that you're going through right now. I support you. I know that all of the team that is working with VPK providers are here to support and assist you. And I think it's great that you're here today to listen to all this great information. So thank you so much, Gretel and Stephanie, for letting me share my experience. And you're gonna help a lot of people with this information that you have to present today.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. We really appreciate you spending your time here with us and really giving that great perspective and great flow of how that improvement plan went in your center. So thank you once again for joining us today. Okay, so let's go and move on to our today's objectives. So today, what are we going to accomplish? So today, we are going to review the improvement plan process. How did you get here? Then we're going to understand the first step for target area number 1. Then we're going to understand the next steps for that secondary target area that you chose. We're going to see an example of a provider on probation binder. And we're going to demonstrate how to access the Florida Early Learning Standards, since they are a requirement in many of the different plans that you have chosen for your improvement plan. And I just want to let everyone know that after our slides, we're going to have a bit of time for questions and answers with our manager, Tiffany Bernard. So if you are able to stay for that, we really encourage that. If the time you're not able to stay a little bit afterwards, if we do go over, just put your questions in the question box. And if we don't get to it today, we will respond to you, because all of your questions will be recorded today. Okay, so the OEL VPK Provider Improvement Plan. So any provider who failed to meet the minimum kindergarten readiness rate of 60 for a program type are placed on a first-year probation. And then the provider remains on probation till it meets that rate of 60. And all the providers are required to submit and implement an approved improvement plan designed to improve the provider's kindergarten readiness rate. And that's where we all are. But please keep a note that there will be no new readiness rate from 2019 to 2020 school year due to the COVID pandemic. All right, so providers on probation are required to, in year 1, submit an improvement plan and implement that improvement plan, which you've all submitted your improvement plans, had them approved. Now we're at that implementation state. Now what's going to happen in year 2? Since there are no readiness rates from last year, if you're a year 1 provider on probation, you will also be a year 2 provider on probation. So you're going to remain on probation and submit a VPK educational program annual probation progress report. Sounds complicated. It's just a progress report for you to demonstrate and illustrate what changes you've made in your school to continue to build up your children's kindergarten readiness rate. And then year 3 is a little bit different. You're going to apply for and be granted a good cause exemption, hopefully, or unfortunately, you're removed from the VPK program for 5 years. Where does all this improvement plan stuff take place? Well, all steps of this improvement plan must be inputted electronically on the VPK Readiness website. So that's that website. It's vpkrates.floridaearlylearning.com/home. You can also take a picture with your cell phone if you like. Keep that website handy, because like Amy said, our improvement plans this year are a living document. So you're going to have to be able to access that at different times throughout the year. So that's a very important website to have at your convenience. So now we're going to move on and talk about target area number 1, which everyone had 2 different choices. You could have chosen developmentally appropriate curriculum or staff development plan. There was no other choice for target area number 1. So there's a little information about it. So for the developmentally appropriate curriculum, if you're in group 1, you have chosen and implemented a new curriculum, and you and your staff have been trained by the curriculum company, meeting your curriculum requirement trainings. And those trainings should have been completed before your first day of VPK. If those trainings are not complete, you must immediately contact the publisher of your curriculums, because they have an agreement between OEL and the publishers about what curriculum requirements of training are necessary for you to be able to implement your curriculum. Or you could be in group number 2, and you could have chosen the staff development plan. And that is where you and your teachers will take multiple early childhood education courses. Your observations will be made by management, and meetings will be scheduled regularly. Please note that there was an option to do both developmentally appropriate curriculum and staff development plan for both target areas, because you choose two target areas. So you could be in a subgroup where you are a number 1 and a number 2. So just keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. So now we're really interested in what everyone has chosen. Are you in that group 1? Are you part of the developmentally appropriate curriculum group? Or perhaps you're part of the staff development plan group. We're going to launch a poll right now so we can see where everybody's at, so we know where to really focus our attention for the rest of this webinar. Okay, I'm distributing the poll now, so we ask that you either choose developmentally appropriate curriculum or staff development plan. If you did choose both, you can write that right in the questions box directly. Okay, we have about 25% who have voted, so we're going to give it a couple more minutes to get some more results in. Okay, everyone, we're going to give you 10 more seconds to collect your responses. Oh, we have some people who chose both. Someone who is not able to see the poll, but they chose staff development. Thank you for writing that in. Sometimes you need to minimize your screen to see the polls. Okay, and now we're going to close the poll up so I can share results. And I look forward to seeing Gretel's reaction. Okay, wow. Gretel, what do you think?
I am very surprised, Stephanie.
I am very surprised too. So this is great. It's almost like a split divide almost. Just a few extras on the developmentally appropriate curriculum, but we're almost neck and neck.
Yes.
And we don't have many that chose both.
Yeah, if they can add, if you guys can add, what is the name of the curriculum you decided to purchase for your program, so we know what is it exactly that you chose, and how else we can help you in the future. This is all very good information for us as VPK coaches.
Oh, absolutely, because then we can get more comfortable and get more information about those curriculums to support your school and everything. So definitely let us know what those curriculums are. So thank you everyone for participating in that poll. I'm kind of excited to see that we're quite even on our results here. All right, so let's move forward and talk about target area number 1, developmentally appropriate curriculum. So what is our next step? So let's talk about what you first had to do to be at this stage. For developmentally appropriate curriculum, you chose from a list of curriculums on the OEL website, and the website is right here in case you want to go back and see what those curriculums are. But it's right here at floridaearlylearning.com/vpk/vpk.provider/vpk/curriculum. I recommend taking a picture if you're interested in that information. So now what do we do? Let's go through this together. Okay, for step 1, you are going to update the dates of when the curriculum was purchased and when the curriculum trainings for your staff have been completed on the VPK Rates website. We'll show you that exactly in a little bit. Step 2, you can place any required curriculum training certificates in your improvement plan binder, because you will need documentation of all your teachers and staff of your VPK classes that took those trainings. For step 3, we can see that you just keep those purchase orders and receipts in your binder for anything that was related to purchasing for your curriculum. Very important to have that on hand. In step 4, you can keep photos and purchase orders of materials bought to support and supplement the implementation of that new curriculum. For example, I know that Teaching Strategies creative curriculum, that they use a lot of books. So you would need to make sure that you have that entire book library in order to perform that curriculum to fidelity. But what else should we consider? We're going to consider what else we can do next. We're going to make sure that we have those materials for implementation, like I mentioned previously. And then we're going to check for understanding. After those trainings, what do you do now? You need to meet with your teachers and make sure they understand what the training they've just been through and what their next steps are about following this curriculum, and are they comfortable with this curriculum? And then you're going to want to really think about fidelity and making sure that the teachers are using the curriculum with fidelity, because that's how you're going to find results. So what are you going to do as a director to make sure this is happening? Will you be doing some observations? Will you be doing follow-up checks on the curriculum? But you have to plan how you're going to plan for that fidelity of the implementation of that class curriculum. And then finally, talk to your teachers about lesson planning and make sure they're comfortable with lesson planning with that new curriculum and incorporating the Florida Early Learning Standards. That is part of some expectations for some of these target areas. So we really want your teachers to be comfortable not only with the new curriculum, but understanding how that curriculum can connect to the Florida Early Learning Standards. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at that pending tasks. I know it's a hot button question. What are these pending tasks and what am I supposed to do? So you can see right down here first that we have chosen, we have a developmentally appropriate curriculum link. And yes, we have a pending task. So click on developmentally appropriate curriculum. And you're going to see here that the creative curriculum was chosen. And you can see that there is an actual purchase date and an actual training completion date that needs to be submitted. So click on your developmentally appropriate curriculum, and then you'll be able to input those dates right here. You can see where it says actual purchase date. There's a little picture of a calendar, and you can see actual training completion date, and you put that date in as well. Hit save, and that pending task is completed. And finally, for your staff for your implementation of approved curriculum, here's some examples of documentation and requirements. Again, you want to keep those invoices and receipts and purchase orders. You got to keep all of that training information together and make sure that all your teachers have fulfilled all the training requirements. Have photos of the materials that you are using to implement your new curriculum. So these are all great things to have available in your binder so you can show your progress. So now we're going to move on to target area number 1, staff development plan with Gretel.
Thank you, Steph, for great information. So the second option for target area number 1 is the staff development plan. We're going to look at what that is, what is entailed, and what's the next step. So about half of you chose staff development plan. So the purpose of the staff development plan is to strengthen instruction and language development and phonological awareness. That is its main focus. So the staff development plan includes both required and recommended trainings and activities. All required trainings and activities must be completed and documented to maintain compliance. The use of a staff development plan will be monitored by us at the ELC of Broward. So prior to offering the VPK program, I'm certain all of you have already done this, but this applies to directors, supervisors, VPK teachers, VPK assistant teachers, or any staff that works in the VPK program. They must complete the 4 courses listed here. I want to note that any teacher that is hired after the VPK program begins must complete these trainings within 2 months of hire. So the 4 required staff development trainings before the VPK program begins are implementing the Florida standards in the preschool classroom, emergent literacy for VPK instructors, language and vocabulary in the VPK classroom, and how to administer the Florida VPK assessment. All 4 of these are found online on the DCF training website. So before the program completes its 50% of instructional VPK hours, so you begin now, and as you continue, before you make it to your 50% mark, all site directors, supervisors, again, VPK teachers, assistant teachers, must complete these next 2 courses listed here. If you have any new staff that is hired after the VPK program begins, they must complete the 4 we mentioned before, plus these next 2 within 2 months of hire, or if they got hired before you completed your 50% of instructional hours, they do that along with the rest of your staff. So as an example, if you began your VPK program yesterday, August 19th, 50% in would be mid-December. So if you want to go ahead and write that down and document that in your calendar, that would be helpful for you. Please note that once the trainings are completed, add their completion dates to the staff development plan on the VPK rates website. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. And print the VPK staff updated DCF transcripts. You want to have their most updated transcripts in your improvement plan binder as well. So all of you that did staff development plan are familiar with this image here. That top portion there are where you would add the dates of the 4 courses that are to be completed before you begin your VPK program. And the next section here that you're going to see the arrow pointing to are the last 2 courses that need to be completed before 50% of your VPK instructional hours are completed. So again, this is why it is still saying pending for your staff development plan. Now we want to give you kind of like a little check mark or a list of activities that can help you to make your staff development plan successful. So the first first item on your list, I would say that we recommend that you create a calendar of requirement dates. It can help you to meet those deadlines. You're always welcome to reach out to us in case you have any questions if that date still stands. 2, you want to make sure that you use the Florida standards to help guide your VPK instruction. And as Stephanie said, we're going to give you a small tour of the website where you can find this so that the teachers become more comfortable with it. 3, we recommend that you use the OEL sample lesson plans. These are great tools to help the teachers under instructional practices. And then a couple of things to add to your calendar. 1, you want to go ahead and schedule already those bi-weekly observations, schedule those monthly staff meetings, and schedule those dates for the AP1, AP2, and AP3 discussion meetings you will be having with your teachers. And a couple of things that we want to remind you to print out. These are good things to have ready for you are, you want to go ahead and print out the staff development exhibit A, B, and C, your staff DCF transcript, the director, supervisor, everybody that's involved with the VPK program, and the AP1 and AP2 and 3 Bright Beginnings class reports assessments when they are ready and done. Here's just another ideas to help you get organized and to help you get ready with your staff development plan is you want to confirm that a copy of the Florida standards are in each VPK classroom. We're going to show you also how you can order that if you don't already have one. Most schools should already have one. We did pass them out about a year and a half ago, I believe. So reach out to us in case you have any questions about that. You want to confirm with your teachers that they are comfortable lesson planning alongside with the standards. For those that got a new curriculum, you want to make sure that they're comfortable using the curriculum. And if they are not, it's okay. Please ask questions. That is what we are here for. You want to print out and distribute those OEL sample lesson plans. They give you great ideas, and they also help you to see how do you lesson plan including the standards. And you want to create a schedule with the VPK staff to determine when monthly meetings and bi-weekly observations will begin. This is going to require a team effort, and involving the teachers in this staff development plan is crucial for its success. So those are a couple of things that we recommend. So in this slide here, we're going to do a little review of Exhibit A. Exhibit A is part of the staff development plan. The director supervisor observes the VPK classroom on a bi-weekly basis using Exhibit A to guide that observation. And providers are required to observe the elements on Exhibit A. You may use your own format, so you don't have to use Exhibit A, but you have to be able to observe the elements on Exhibit A. Remember, it's based on language development and phonological awareness. So you want to go ahead and add those bi-weekly observation dates to your calendar. So this is what Exhibit A looks like. It is also a handout as part of this webinar. So we want to go ahead and make sure that you download that, please. If you're not able to, because maybe you're on a phone, you can email us and we'll give you that email at the end, and we can email you the complete packet. So Exhibit A is called Staff Observation Template, and it is meant for director supervisors to observe and take notes of the VPK classroom on a bi-weekly basis. So you would do 2 observations per month. You can choose the dates however you see fit alongside with your teachers. There are 2 sections on the staff observation template. The first section is on page 1 through 2, and it's to observe the interactions and instructional strategies of language development. And the second section is on page 3, and the purpose of this is to observe the interactions and instructional strategies for phonological awareness. So again, it focuses on 2 areas, language development and phonological awareness. So as the observer, you would check off yes or no in the middle column for each section and write a note documenting the observation. It is recommended that you plan ahead with the teacher what time of day and what area you're going to observe so that the teacher can be more intentional on focusing on these skills, so that when you have that discussion with the teacher, she can see her progress or his progress. So now let's take a look at Exhibit B. So Exhibit B is to be done also on a monthly basis. This is meant for the director supervisor. It is called the monthly feedback template, and it reflects on the interactions and instructional strategies related to the language development and phonological awareness notes that you took for that month. So after you're done observing the classroom, those 2 bi-weekly observations, then at the end of the month, you would sit with the teacher, and on page 1, you would document your discussion with the teacher from the first observation you did in that month. And on page 2, you would document your discussion that you had with the teacher based on the second observation you did in the classroom. You would conduct Exhibit B only 1 time a month. Now we're moving on to Exhibit C. Exhibit C is the assessment results meeting template. This is only to be conducted 3 times a year. This is meant for after your completion of AP1, AP2, and AP3. It is recommended for the director or supervisor to print the assessment reports from the Bright Beginnings website, to use Exhibit C to guide that review of the assessment results and the implications it's going to have on the classroom instruction and lesson planning for the future. So this one is only done 3 times a year. So that was a review of the 3 exhibits for the staff development plan. We are done explaining staff development plan, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in and we will get back, we will answer that at the end of this webinar. Now we're going to go into target area 2. We're going to review the options for target area 2, and Stephanie and I are going to give you what's next steps for those target areas. So before we get into explaining them, we have a little survey that we would like for you to give, go ahead and put in your answer in the question box. And the question is, which of the additional areas did you choose for your improvement plan? So did you choose administrative and management practices, classroom learning environment, classroom instructional practices, child developmental screenings and assessments, social emotional interactions, family involvement, or like some of you said earlier, you did choose both staff development and appropriate curriculum. You can go ahead and just put in the numbers, and that would be good too.
Okay, we have some numbers coming in here, Gretel. We have a number of 2s, classroom learning environment. I see some 6s for family involvement. We have a number 4 for child developmental screenings and assessments, a 6 again, 2, number 3, classroom instructional practices. We have a lot of diversity where it comes to target area number 2.
Yeah, a lot of family involvement. I did imagine that we would see that. Yeah, we definitely want our families to be involved with our children's education. Okay, thank you everybody for putting in your answers. So this is the first option for target area number 2. It is called administrative and management practices. Some of you did choose it. Thank you for letting me know. We're going to review what is it, what type of evidence you can use to put in your improvement plan binder. So what is it? So program management includes effective implementation of policies, procedures, and systems that support strong program management, including, but not limited to, just these are a couple ideas, is a stable personnel, fiscal soundness, program accountability, record keeping, professional development, and continuous program improvement. So what can you do to show that you are working on this? Here are a couple examples. First example we can give you is you could create or have a professional growth plan for each VPK staff or teacher. You can get these templates online or you can create your own, that's okay. You wanna go ahead and document your staff meetings or your staff orientation. They can even be informal. So if you had an informal meeting with a teacher, you went in the classroom, you gave her some information that is based on your program or any changes, you want to go ahead and maybe document those down. It could even be a post-it note, and you want to put that in your binder. A fiscal calendar showing your fiscal responsibility, or especially now with the pandemic, there's possibly a lot of changes in policy and procedures on how you're going to conduct instruction in the classroom. So if you wrote those down, or if you have that, if you have those instructions, maybe even for parents, you want to go ahead and print those out, and you can use those also to show evidence for this area. So the second option for target area number 2 is called classroom learning environment, which is another target area that most of you chose. So we're going to review what it is and what type of evidence you can have to show in your improvement plan. So in classroom learning environment, this refers to a safe and healthful environment that provides appropriate, well-maintained, organized, and accessible indoor and outdoor physical environments. And I want to note that it speaks of both the indoor and the outdoor environments. The learning environment includes the facilities, the equipment, and the materials to facilitate children's and staff learning and development. So what can you show for this target area? Some of the evidence that you can show are a health and safety checklist. It can be done on a daily basis, weekly, or monthly. You can have an effective room arrangement strategy. So if you decided to change the room arrangement in your classroom, we recommend that you take a before picture and an after picture. You can take pictures of maybe if you just decided to change an area, let's say that you decided to improve maybe on the science area or a math, or you decided to move just one thing, go ahead and take a picture of before and after. You can add receipts of purchases you made of appropriate materials and equipment in the classroom. You can also use the ECHRS, which is short for Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale, as a guide to help you with the classroom learning environment. You can add the results of the scale to your improvement plan binder and how you're going to use this to implement change in the classroom and possibly outside. So the third option is called Classroom Instructional Practices. So we're going to review what it is and what types of evidence you can add to your improvement plan binder for this area. So classroom instructional practices refers to the use of developmentally, culturally, and linguistically appropriate and effective teaching approaches that enhance each child's learning and development in the context of the program's curriculum goals. This particular target area matches very well with appropriate curriculum. So if you got a new curriculum, this could have been another good option for you because they go hand in hand. Teaching practices should include a variety of approaches that range from structured to unstructured and from adult-directed to child-directed. So what type of examples can you use? You can show evidence of a staff orientation, so maybe an agenda and a sign-in. We recommend that you do staff-to-staff mentoring. So if you've had a teacher that has completed the VPK program for various years, she or he can be an assistant to somebody who was newly hired. Professional development opportunities for all staff regarding classroom instructional practices. As you probably have been part of the VPK webinars through the same means on GoToWebinar, you can even go back on our website, on the ELC Broward website, and even review those previous VPK trainings that were done. So those can be of assistance. You also can use Exhibit A, B, and C that we just reviewed for the staff development plan. Even if you did not choose staff development plan, you can use those as resources to help you do observations and give feedback to the teachers. Okay. Now Ms. Stephanie will continue with the rest.
Thank you so much, Gretel. We're going to see target area number 2, option 4, which is classroom child development screenings and assessments. So what does that mean? What does that look for? So with childhood development screenings and assessments, we're looking for ongoing systematic and formal as well as informal assessment approaches to provide information on individual children's learning and development. So this area refers to that consistency. And also we really want to stress that with these screenings and assessments, the most important part about this is not just doing them, is taking that information and applying it into your instruction to help those children who may be struggling and to help those children who are maybe a little advanced and could potentially get bored. So we really want to use that as an informational strategy. So let's see what we can use. Here are some examples. So you can have professional development opportunities for all of your staff regarding screenings and assessments. For example, the ELC Education Department just had a training on assessment, and that would have counted towards professional development for your staff. You can also choose a selection of appropriate screening and assessment tools. Ongoing assessments such as TSG, as well as Core Advantage or Galileo. And when we talk about screenings, we're mentioning something like the ASQ and applying it directly with the teacher to the classroom. But please also remember that technology will be an important piece of many of these assessment programs if you did choose this target area number 2. So at times extra time will be needed. So check in with your teachers and make sure you see what they need, because this is new to them as well. All right, so for target area number 2, your 5th option was social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children. Now we're going to review social emotional learning in more detail on the following slide. So social emotional interactions among pre-kindergarten instructors and children, what are we looking for? Well, we are looking to create a culture of understanding that positive relationships are essential for the development of personal responsibility, self-regulation, interactions with others, and fostering development and learning. As we know, if a child does not have a strong, safe relationship in the classroom, they are not able to learn. And also, we're looking for those interactions among the instructors and children to be warm, sensitive, respectful, and responsive to each individual child. So each individual child is getting the time and attention for that social emotional connection with their teacher. So let's take some examples of what some documentation and evidence of this could look like and implementation. So first of all, you can have a staff orientation program on social emotional learning expectations and your school's philosophy. You can also choose to have a staff-to-staff mentoring regarding the social emotional learning of your school. Again, provide professional development opportunities for all staff members regarding instructional practices of social emotional learning. We just had a VPK social emotional domains training. So keep your eye out for all our VPK trainings on our calendar. A lot of them might apply to some of your target areas. And then also you can utilize observations, feedback, and modeling, etc., to support your teachers in developing those social emotional skills. You can see here that you can choose different models such as the pyramid model. You can also choose something like conscious discipline to introduce into your classroom, take photos of the materials that you're having, as well as it being integrated into your classroom. And for our last but certainly not least option, number 6, which is family involvement. Let's take a look at family involvement. So family involvement involves including and establishing, maintaining those collaborative relationships with each child's family to foster that child's development in all settings. Because we know it's important for the child, whatever they're learning at school, to be reinforced at home. Additionally, we're looking for ways that we can develop relationships that are sensitive to the family composition, language, and culture. So I understand that family development in your mind in February, March might have looked a little bit different. So you might have to think outside the box now for some of your activities that you had planned due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I know a lot of centers are not allowing any extra guests into their center, not allowing parents into their center. So we want to make sure that we are still finding ways to get the families involved. So you can see here, this is an example of a family STEM Zoom class night. There's a date right here, September 2020 at 6 p.m. I do have to say, don't be skeptical of the Zoom meetings or the Zoom classes or Zoom story times. as a parent myself, I got to meet my 2-year-old's teacher via Zoom meeting, and I personally was a little skeptical at first because I wasn't sure if I'd get a real true feeling of her personality and her educational philosophy and things like that. But from the second I met her, it was really comfortable, and we got to really connect and get to know each other, and it really was a benefit. So even if it's not truly in person, you can really utilize some different tools and techniques to communicate with the parents. But of course, an old-fashioned phone call is just as effective. But then we can also provide materials for families to sign out and use at home. For example, you can have manipulatives like plastic numbers that are easy to disinfect and sanitize. Or later on in the school year, you could open up a lending library to encourage your parents to be reading at home with your children. Or like I said, you could have parents come into the classroom via Zoom and read to the children themselves, just to give them that extra communication, that extra interaction within the classroom. So just once again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So it is a great idea to utilize photography, photographs, as well as any receipts and purchase orders, certificates and materials. You want all of that on hand. And the best way to collect all that information is with creating your very own improvement plan binder. So let's take a look and see what's in our example binder today. Okay, let's start with number 1. So number 1, you're going to have your improvement plan posted right up front, so it's easy to reference. So the teachers have access to it, as well as the director, the owner. Everyone is able to understand what the plan is and what the expectations are. But now I'm going to put a little pause on our binder journey. So the next 3 pages are great examples for you if you have for documentation, if you chose developmentally appropriate curriculum. You're in that group 1. You chose a new curriculum to approved by the DOE to implement into your classroom. So these next 3 slides are for you. So what else are we looking for in the binder? We want that invoice or that receipt, and you want to make sure you complete that follow-up task of inputting the VPK websites, the purchase date, as well as the training dates. And then next in your binder, you can find your teacher training documentation for the curriculum. You want to make sure that is on hand too, as that is a very important requirement of implementing a developmentally appropriate curriculum. And finally, you want to make sure that you have evidence of any curriculum materials that you have added to the classroom to enhance that new curriculum. And if you don't have any photos, you can also have purchase orders and receipts as well.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for going through that. Now we want to take a break here also, because if you did not choose developmentally appropriate curriculum, then you've chose staff development plan. So the next couple of slides are for you. Again, you either chose one or the other. So now we're going to go through the staff development plan and what that would look like in your binder. So the first thing you would want to add for the staff development plan is those first 5 pages of the staff development plan. Again, it is a handout. In this webinar, you'll see that the first 5 pages is the explanation of the entire plan. So you would have that here. Then the second thing is you would have the exhibit A's of every month, those bi-weekly observations. You want to go ahead and you could start printing out those templates now, and you can even add on the top the months that you are going to do them in. And then when you're ready to do it, just pull them out of your binder, complete the form, and then put it back in so that you're ready for your next exhibit, which is exhibit B. This one is to be conducted again on a monthly basis, and it is correlated to those observations that you did, those 2 observations you did for the month. So here you would just add them in chronological order, month to month. And that last piece would be Exhibit C, which is the discussion you would have with the teacher based on that AP 1, 2, and 3 assessment results from the Bright Beginnings reports. Okay, so just we want to reiterate those last 2 sections for target area 1 only. So it's either you did developmentally appropriate curriculum, or you did a staff development plan, or if you're those few small subset that did both, then you would have both of those areas in your binder. Now the next 2 sections are meant to be in everyone's binder, and that is staff credentials and resources. So let's look at staff credentials. For staff credentials, you would add the director, supervisor, VPK teacher, assistant teacher. You would add their DCF transcripts with their updated courses and all professional development certificates. Any that they take, you can go ahead and put them here. You can make a copy and add them to this binder as well. For resources, we recommend that you put in the ELC monthly training calendars. You'll see on the training column there, you'll have the titles, and you're welcome to please register to as many as you possibly can. You will see specifically the ones that are meant for VPK. The word VPK will always be in the title. You can also add the OEL activity lesson plans here. We are going to show you later how to do that. You want to go ahead and print those out now before the rest of the year continues to come in, because it's easy to forget that, but they're very helpful and they give the teachers a great stepping stone to work from. And any other miscellaneous documents that you would like to add, it can go ahead and be under this tab here. Okay, so we want to go ahead and take a moment to check for understanding. Now we're going to illustrate what can be found in your binder for the other secondary areas that you chose. So that's second target areas. Take it away, Ms. Steph.
Thank you, Gretel. All right, so we're going to focus on target area number 2 for your secondary target area. Option number 1 for administrative and management practices and program management. Like we said, you could implement team meetings and have those team meeting notes in your binder. You can revise filing procedures and processes and take some photos of before and after if you have those hard copies at your center. And also you can have an option to revise your employee handbook. So there are many options for administrative practices and program management. You just want to make sure that whatever you're doing to improve these practices, that you have documented it inside your binder. So that was option number 1. Your next option is classroom learning environment. So as Gretel mentioned, it's great to have a before and after picture of the classroom, or even a center that you perhaps rearranged, as well as results from any classroom observation tools such as the ELCO or the ECHRS to inform your decisions on what in your classroom needs to be changed or modified. So that would be examples for your classroom learning environment. And then if we look at target area number 2 for the third option, which is classroom instructional practices, for example, you could work with your teachers on class and give them resources like the class dimensions guide and go through what class means, and also have some class observations, some pre and post tests, so your teachers know what they need to work on and you know what you can support their goals and growth on as well. So that's for classroom instructional practices. That's just one example of many. Like Gretel said, you could also do observations in your classroom utilizing that staff development exhibit A, B, and C for your own observations. And then for your fourth option, you had child development screenings and assessments. And you can see right here, this is an example of teaching strategy gold and their child reports. You want to have those inside your binder, as well as any meeting notes to discuss what you're going to do with this information once you have passed those checkpoints with your students, and how is it going to inform your instruction. So for your target area number 2, if you chose secondary area number 5, social interactions among pre-K instructors and children, you could take photographs of these new social emotional learning practices being in place. You can take photographs or show purchase order materials of social emotional materials and put those in your binder, or any recognition or any trainings that you have in social emotional learning could also be put into this binder to meet this requirement as well. And finally, one of our most important or most popular second target areas, option number 6 was family involvement. As you can see here is another example of a virtual event. It's a super family literacy night that took place that will be taking place on the Zoom account of the school. You can see they took pictures of the attendees on their computer, as well as a picture of the book that was utilized for the event. So keep your flyer, because you'll need those dates and important information for that good cause exemption. They're very particular about dates and specific information. So the more you can put into this binder, the better off future you will be on year 3 when you have to write this good cause exemption, which is a very lengthy process. And that is the end of our binder.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now let's go ahead and review the improvement implementation plan. Step 1, we want you to please focus on a growth mindset. We want to go ahead and thank again Amy for giving us her story of the center she was a director at, and that great focus on that growth mindset and how it got them to get off this list, right? Step 2, involve the staff in the process. It's very important that your teachers know exactly what's going on, and it's also important that they know why this is important. Step 3, we recommend that you make a calendar for yourself to remember those dates that you have to go back and add into the VPK rates website. Step 4, prepare and organize a binder. Having a binder is a great way to organize all your target evidence. Step 5, start collecting those documents. If you bought a curriculum, now you would have that purchase order or any receipts whatsoever. You can start collecting them and including them in your binder. And last but not least, take lots of pictures. Take pictures of the classroom, of the teachers implementing these strategies, whatever you're comfortable taking pictures of. You know, we want to see the story of your center in your binder as well. We just want to reiterate the purpose of the improvement plan. It is designed to give you tools to be successful in making adjustments to this new or current practices. So just a quick snapshot of what that could look like in the year. Also coming soon, we are very excited. There will be a VPK Quality Initiative plan. Please be alert to your emails, as we will reach out to you to share more information about this initiative, and we hope that you would be willing to participate.
Thank you, Gretel. All right, so now we want to take you through a tour of some of the resources that you can find online at the OEL website. We want to just let all of our directors know that the OEL has recognized that there's not a lot of support and tools for you. So coming soon, there will be a director's toolkit. It's not out yet, but we just wanted to let you know that's something to look forward to. So we're very excited to share that with you when that is published. So now we're going to explore the OEL Florida Early Learning Standards for 4-year-olds, so you can see what you need to do in order to be comfortable with those standards and where to find the standards, activity plans, and resources. So we're going to click here. It will just take a moment. Just stand by. Okay, so once I click that link, we can even go from the home page if we wanted to. So let's go from the home page. Okay, so if you see here is the home page, a lot of different things to click on. You're going to click on VPK and VPK providers. And then it will bring you to this page, and you will see there's lots of different information here, as well as different information here for all VPK providers. And you can even see here is a section for the improvement process. And then you can also collect professional development and training. And that gives you a lot of good information regarding the Bright Beginnings website, where the activity plans are, the Florida Early Learning website, which we're going to click on right now. And that brings us to the Florida standards right here. And you can see this first page, when you click this little home icon, you're going to see the different domains, ages, and some of the PDF resources. Again, this is another place where you can find the activity plans and a condensed version of the 4-year-olds to kindergarten developmental standards as well. Those are both handouts in your packet today, so please download those handouts. And if you click on resources over here, I just want to show you, this is where, if you need to, you can buy a printed copy of the Florida Early Learning Standards, either birth to kindergarten or 4-year-olds to kindergarten. And we also have this full 4-year-olds to kindergarten as a handout if you want to print that out yourself. So let's look at the standards now. So you can see the standards has 8 different domains, and it's really wonderful to navigate them on the website. It's less intimidating than that big book of standards. So for example, you can click one domain, it will light up like that. And then you want to be sure to pick your age group. And then once you do that, you'll see a domain introduction, the different components within the domain, and then you'll see the standards and as well as benchmarks to tell you exactly what they expect for health and well-being. Now what I want to draw your attention to is a really great tool and resource for coming up with ideas for your families, for your children, in the classroom and outside the classroom. If you click on Vroom, this gives you information on different things that the children may do to work on this skill, what educators may do in the classroom to facilitate and support this skill, and what families may do. And this is really helpful because it gives families a lot of great resources to do at home with their children. So I know that's a big, important component. So maybe showing families that they have their own section here at the website will really help them become more familiarized with their children's activities and needs for home learning. You can see there's apps, activity ideas, videos, websites, the standards, and first teacher book. So there is a plethora of information on this website. So we hope that you take some time and look through it, encourage your teachers to look through it so they can really start to understand how to quickly maneuver through the different domains and standards and apply them to the curriculum and their lesson planning. So if you want, you can take a picture of this website right here. That will bring you to the standards resource homepage. All right, so let's continue. So now I'm going to pass along the presentation back to Gretel so she can finish up with a few final slides.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the tour. Thank you. Every time we go in there, I learn something new. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
As we're coming to an end of our presentation today, we want to go ahead and remind you that your certificate will be emailed to the email that you registered with within 24 hours of this webinar ending. Also, a post-test will appear as soon as the webinar is over. Please go ahead and complete that, and the training evaluation will also appear right after. We want to also give you our information. So you'll see it come up on your screen in a bit. This is my information and Stephanie's information as well. In a bit, we're going to also be hearing from Ms. Tiffany Bernard. She is a Quality and Education Coaching Manager, and she has worked closely with many of you on your improvement plans. And again, if you have any questions regarding any of the regarding this training or any future trainings, please go ahead and reach out to us at the elcbtraining@elcbroward.org email. I'm going to do a little plug for our next VPK training, and that is going to be next month on Thursday, September 17 at 1 o'clock. Stephanie and I have the pleasure again of bringing the next one. It is called Active Movement and Learning in the VPK Classroom, and we hope that your VPK teachers sign up for it. It is during nap time, so we hope that you're able to join us. So here are the websites to the resources. That first website is for the OEL Florida Early Learning Standards for 4-year-olds, which is the tour that Stephanie just gave us. The next website is for those OEL sample activity plans. That's where you will retrieve them from. They do add plans every so often, so you want to check back every couple of months. There's a lot of plans on language and literacy, math, and science, and they're adding some for social studies and approaches to learning. So now we wanted to give some time to a Q&A. Please go ahead and write in your questions concerning your particular program. I'm going to introduce to you Ms. Tiffany Bernard. She's one of our Quality and Education Manager to help us answer any questions. Ms. Tiffany, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Gretel and Stephanie, for really going over the improvement plan process, how to put together a wonderful binder to show exactly what's going on in your centers and what those target areas really do encompass. So one of the questions that I did see in the chat box was, can the binder be digital? So absolutely, if you're able to take all of the documentation that you have for those target areas and make a digital binder, then that's an option that you definitely can have. Another question is there going to be a readiness rate for the 2020-2021 year? And the answer to that is no. Due to COVID, as you guys remember, you did not complete AP3. So that would have been something that would have needed to be taken into account for the learning gains, looking at the difference between any learning gains between AP1 and AP3. And with COVID, they said, no, we're not going to have a new readiness rate. So for the next year, there will not be a new readiness rate. And in the handouts, there is actually frequently asked questions. So please make sure you download the handouts. They have wonderful handouts with the staff development plans, with different things that you'll need for the upcoming VPK program, in addition to those frequently asked questions that'll answer some of those questions that you may have as well. So how does the VPK online program work with this? So we have not, I saw that answer was given. We have not received any guidance so far from OEL as to what virtual VPK will look like. But in terms of your improvement plan, if you are going to be operating virtually, you can take that documentation through printing out. You saw some of that evidence, printing out some Zoom snapshots that you've taken of the different things that you're doing in the classroom. So that could be some of that documentation needed for your staff development plan. But as soon as we do receive guidance from OEL in regards to virtual VPK, we will be sharing that information with all of you. So if you choose staff development as a target area, do you still need to buy a curriculum? That answer was given, but just to clarify for everyone, no. If you choose staff development plan and you chose an additional target area, so say for example, if you chose staff development plan and family involvement, you would not need to buy a curriculum unless you are looking at school readiness, because for school readiness, you did have to purchase curriculums if you didn't have the updated, the most recent curriculum that you have in your centers. So just keep that in mind. School readiness classrooms, so any other classroom that you have will have to have new curriculums. So if VPK falls into that, if you have those school readiness kids, then you would need to buy a curriculum for, say, like your 4-year-olds that are not VPK. So if you purchase creative curriculum, great. I see that someone said that we have creative curriculum. Just make sure that you do complete the trainings for the implementation of that curriculum. And this is something that's in the frequently asked questions handout. But for creative curriculum, there are 3 required trainings. They are 10 hours each. It's objectives for development and learning. That's one training. The second training is the Creative Curriculum Daily Resources, and then the last one is the Creative Curriculum Foundation. So each publisher has training specific to the curriculum that you purchase. And then that would be what you would need to send to your provider relations specialist, evidence of you completing those trainings to implement the curriculum. And yes, I can write that down in the chat box for you, the names of those trainings. So those are all of the questions that I see right now. If you do have any other additional questions, please, read those frequently asked questions in the handout. And if you don't see your question answered in that, please feel free to reach out to us so that we may be able to answer any of those additional questions that you have. I'm just typing those in the chat box for you. If you have creative curriculum, do you have to purchase 2 curriculums for that school? Okay, so for creative curriculum, they do have 2 curriculums. There's the creative curriculum for infant, toddlers, and 2s, and then you have the creative curriculum 3 years old to kindergarten, I believe. So for that, you would need to, for school readiness, you would need to purchase both. You would need to purchase the infant, toddlers, and 2s for your infant, toddlers, and 2s classrooms, and then you would have to purchase the 3 years old to kindergarten for your 3-year-olds and your 4-year-olds. So it does cover, that 3-year-olds to kindergarten does cover VPK as well.
Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, Tiffany, but I do want to say thank you so much for being with us and manning these questions and really being a great resource for our providers today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we really appreciate the FAQ that you've also graciously given us that we've put into the handouts as well. So we really encourage everyone to download that handout as well. Again, if your question wasn't asked, you have a moment to put in your email address and your question, and we'll get back to you. And this will be the last part of our webinar. So we are coming to our final conclusion. So we just wanted to say thank you so much for being here with us today. I know you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here learning about the VPK improvement plan instead. So also I'd like to turn this over to Gretel to see if she has any last words.
Yes, I want to say thank you to everybody that presented with us today, to Amy, to Tiffany, Stephanie, thank you so much. I see a question, will this webinar be reviewed? Our webinars are put up on the ELC of Broward website. Maybe not today, but sometime next week. Go ahead and look out for that. But if you do have any particular questions regarding your improvement plan, please reach out to us. Maybe Steph, if you can go back to our emails in case somebody didn't catch that. And again, like Stephanie said, thank you so much. And we are with you. We understand this is going to be a tough, challenging year, but you guys are tough and challenging. You're very tough people, so I know we can get through this. Thank you.
Here, I'm going to put our contact information up just one more time. And here it is. We'll keep that up for another minute before we end the webinar. But once again, thank you, everyone. We're really glad that you were able to spend your afternoon with us.
Have a great day and be safe.
All right, we're going to end the webinar now. Please don't forget to take your post test as well as the training evaluation. I hope everyone has an excellent weekend coming up.